One of the more closely related options in most of the drivers, and one of the most misunderstood options in most of the drivers, is the socket timeout option. And the socket timeout is literally how long to wait for a response on an open socket. You've sent some piece of information down there, maybe it's a query, maybe it's a write that you're waiting for acknowledgement for, and the default value here is infinite. Certainly is in the Java driver where it's set to 0, which corresponds to infinite. The general recommendation is to leave it that way. The reason for that is, most of the time, you don't know how long something is going to take. You know how long it's going to take in the ideal. Let's say you know that 99.9% of your find queries complete in less than 500 milliseconds. Nice and fast. But you do get outliers, right? Something happens with a database, things are a bit slow. Those outliers can take 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Who knows how long a query might take to actually execute on the server side. And this is completely independent of MongoDB. This is true of essentially any database. How long to wait is again another balancing act. And the question is, what are you going to do if it does time out? You might have a fairly simple response to this. Well, I've already sent the find once, I'm just going to send it again. But if it's a badly constructed find query that's actually causing problems on your database, you're going to make that problem worse by adding another one into the mix. You know that most of them are going to come in under this 500 milliseconds barrier, but you add 500 milliseconds latency on the network into that, and you're going to get a lot of things timing out all of a sudden without there being a terribly obvious reason for it. So it is something that you can configure, and our recommendation is that you don't change it, that you leave it as is, and that if something is taking a long time, rather than timing out the socket, you can take other action in your code. You could set this to a very long value. That would be another potential option. But usually what you're going to want to do is figure out why these things are taking a long time and fix the behavior. If you do implement an upper limit for how long you're willing to wait on a socket, make sure that you've got a good plan for what to do when you do in fact time out that socket. Attempt to create a new one, attempt to resend the query, send an error back to your user, etc., etc.